How do you make decisions? Do you think twice and only allow yourself to do things that you can rationalize? Do things that other people say make you question yourself? How is that making you feel? That's what this episode is about. You're listening to Pure Light, where we explore how you can believe in yourself and be happy with who you are. My name is Eiley. I help people do what they feel called to do. I'm a coach, writer, and yoga and meditation teacher. This is episode 157. So I was watching an episode of 90 Day Fiancé recently. In case you've never seen the show, it's a reality show about people in the US who fall in love with someone abroad. And then they bring them to the United States on a K-1 visa, which gives them 90 days to get married. And then if they don't get married, their fiancé has to go back to their own country. So in the latest season, there's a couple named Brandon and Julia. Brandon lives on a farm with his parents, and Julia came from Russia, where she was a go-go dancer. And so the transition was kind of rough for her. So she went from basically clubbing and being in a city and having a very vibrant social life to living on a farm, where she didn't have access to some of the things that she had access to before, like, clubs to go dancing and that kind of thing. And so she was very frustrated with living there, and she wanted to get off the farm. And, she basically gave Brandon an ultimatum. She was like, either we leave the farm or I leave the farm. And they were staying there, I think, because of financial reasons. And so anyway, Brandon had a conversation with his parents to tell them that Julia wanted to move off the farm. And during that conversation, Brandon's dad said to him, "Don't make a stupid decision. Think about what you're doing." And that is what inspired this episode, because I feel like that is so representative of how our culture encourages all of us to make decisions. And I'm going to include a link to that video clip if you want to watch it. It'll be in the show notes. So it's so inherent in our culture to say stuff like that and to question other people's decisions. But when we use that question assumes that the person making the decision is about to make a huge mistake or do something stupid or really screw up their life. So it instills fear and self-doubt. And it's questioning someone else's decision-making authority over their own life. Because at some level, if you're asking that question, you're assuming that you know better for them than they know for themselves, or there's something that maybe they haven't considered that's like probably really obvious or something like that. So that's part of the issue with this question. But I think the biggest thing from my perspective is that this question also assumes that the best decision we could make is one where we really think things through. So the mind is a powerful tool, but I think we're culturally ingrained to overvalue thinking. And when we say things like, "Are you sure? Think about what you're doing," we keep perpetuating the idea that the mind is the best way to make a decision. So if you think about how we've been conditioned to make decisions, we're encouraged to do things that make sense, that we can explain, that we can rationalize. And often that involves things like time or money or some other logical reason. I know I've talked about that before in the context of money, and I'll include a link to that episode in the show notes as well. But whenever we make a decision that's based on one of those rationalizations, we're basically ignoring our inner truth. And we've been conditioned to ignore it. We've been conditioned to abandon ourselves, which I've also talked about before. So what that logic really is, what that "are you sure? Think about what you're doing," that's all of the shoulds. That's all of the rules inside your head. When you ignore your instincts or your emotions in order to prioritize what your mind is telling you, you send a signal to the universe that your instincts and emotions don't matter. So as challenging as it can be to listen to your intuition or to that knowing within you, maybe because it seems crazy or it doesn't make sense, I know for myself that doing that is the thing that allows me to experience the magic of being alive. Because if I do the logical thing, it's kind of like killing the adventure or excitement or whatever that may be. So I recently got into human design. If you've never heard of it, it's kind of like an energetic blueprint that outlines how you're designed to flow through life. It's based on the exact time and location of your birth, and you can look up your chart for free. I'll include a link to that in the show notes as well if you want to do that. One of the things in your human design chart is authority. And authority basically means how you're best designed to make decisions. And there are several types of authority. I think there are maybe 7 of them. And mine is splenic, although some people say splenic. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm gonna go with splenic. And basically that means it's intuitive. So it's some random knowing that just shows up in the moment. It's not something that I can think my way to. So it's not rational or logical. And I think this explains why I often feel crazy when I'm making decisions that are right for me. Splenic authority governs your intuition, and it also governs fear, which makes me wonder if that's one of the reasons that I find fear so fascinating, like I talked about in the last episode. So I also want to share that recently I made a big decision, and a few people around me were like, "Are you sure you want to do that? Think about what you're doing." And I know it's totally out of concern. It's because they care about me and they want to make sure that I'm doing something that is right for me. And at the same time, it keeps perpetuating the myth that I should make logical decisions instead of trusting my instincts. And I know that trusting my instincts is the best choice for me. It's interesting because I feel like human design kind of confirmed that, but it was something I already knew because I've tested it out in the past. And I don't want to feed the idea that I should make logical decisions. So I'm going to listen to my intuition on this decision, and I'll share what it is in the next episode. Listening to your inner knowing is the only way that you can really learn how to trust yourself. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, may you be guided by your light.